Good morning, everyone. Today our topic is antenatal assessment of fetal well-being. So, uh, what are the aims of this antenatal assessment of fetal well-being? So, first one is to avoid the fetal death. Basically, the aim is to avoid the fetal death and also the maternal death. So, to ensure satisfactory growth and well-being of fetus throughout pregnancy. uh, why we have to do this antenatal assessment of fetal well-being, so that there should not be any complication to the during pregnancy, so that will affect the growth of the fetus. So at last we have to ensure the satisfactory growth and well-being of the fetus throughout the pregnancy, to screen out the high risk factors that affect growth of the fetus. Basically, you have to diagnose the high risk factors and various diseases to the mother, and various congenital diseases, various hereditary diseases, so many conditions that come from maternal history or paternal history, or any environmental, occupational, so that we can diagnose the condition that can affect the growth of the fetus. So, in long term, we can save the life of the fetus, and we can hand over the healthy baby to the mother. So, clinical evaluation of fetal well-being at antenatal visit. So, this is first visit. As we had already seen, as per WHO, 4 visits should be there. So, in first visit, we have to do the initial antenatal examination in the first trimester. It's basically. So, we have to see for the any maternal history to the female, any bad obstetric history is there, any disease is present, already the patient is suffering from any disease, chronic condition, any medical illness, any surgery she had undergone before the pregnancy, and what might be the impact on that. Again, bimanual examination should be done, ultrasonography should be done, all the records should be kept properly, and so that it will help in the follow-up of the patient. Later on, whenever she will come for the follow-up, it will help. Clinical examination for vaginal examination has to be done, and confirmation of the weeks as per gestational age, as per her LMP, has to be done. In subsequent visits, maternal weight gain we have to look for the proper maternal weight gain. The average weight gain should be 1 kg per, uh, ideally 2 kg per month. It should be 1 kg in 15 days, basically. So 2 kg per month, it should be from the second half of the pregnancy, from second trimester onwards. Whenever she will feel better from that pregnancy-induced nausea and vomiting, from second trimester onwards, she should get the gain. Weight gain should be there. Excess weight gain may be because of fluid retention. So we have to see the signs of preeclampsia if at all present. BP should be monitored, blood pressure should be monitored, so that we can diagnose if at all she is having a pre-existing hypertension, or later on she is developing pregnancy-induced hypertension. So whatever impact it may having on the growth of the fetus, and to control the hypertension, proper medication should be started, so that the life of the mother and the fetus can be saved. Again, assessment of the size of the uterus and height of the fundus. It should be looked for. It should be looked for. Basically, in early weeks, the size of the uterus uh, is calculated by the duration of the gestation, but we cannot in early weeks. We cannot just see the size by for abdominal examination. We have to do for a vaginal examination, and height of the fundus should be seen. Basically, it is after 14 weeks we can properly diagnose in normal weight. Whenever the female is of normal weight, then we can properly assess the uh, growth of the fundal height. So after 24 weeks, It should be measured in centimeter, corresponds to the periods of gestation in weeks. So basically, clinical assessment of liquor should be done. Clinical assessment of liquor means basically whether it is skinty or whether it is polyhydramnios, oligohydramnios or polyhydramnios. So by clinical examination, we all know we can diagnose if at all oligohydramnios is there, then the height of fundal height will be less than the gestational age and abdominal girth will be less and the part of the fetus can be felt very easily. And polyhydramnios, the gestational, the fundal height will be more than the gestational age, abdominal girth will be more, and the fetal parts cannot be felt easily. Again, documentation of the girth of the abdomen in the last trimester is important, as in the last trimester, basically after 34 weeks, again the fundal height will be uh, less. After 34 weeks, again the maternal distress will be somewhat less. And if at all the female process 42 weeks post maturity, then and then also she will having somewhat what do you mean? What do you call it? The height of the fundus will be less than the gestational age. Again, we have to look for the any problem, any disease she is suffering from, and that is having impact like IUGR if at all patient is having. If at all she is having gestational diabetes, then big baby, we have to document all these things, and these are important for the outcome of the pregnancy. So special investigations in this case, special investigation first of all, chorionic villus sampling, then amniocentesis, again chordocentesis. We all know amniocentesis means amniotic fluid is withdrawn and various investigations have been done on it. And chordocentesis, basically, chordosynthesis means the sample has been withdrawn, blood sample has been drawn from the umbilical cord, and basically it is indicated in so many chromosomal abnormalities. If at all patient is having family history or previous history of the birth with chromosomal pattern, then this test is done. Again, torch, we had seen torch, toxoplasmosis, rubella infections. In such cases, this chordosynthesis is important. Again, fetal cells from maternal blood is taken for any problem if at all the fetus is suffering from. Again, pre-fetal uh, pre-fetal DNA, FFDNA from the maternal plasma. This is basically cell pre-fetal DNA. This is also called as. So it is done basically for testing various diseases that are having genetical linkage. Again, genital disorder, X-linked recessive disorders. If at all patient is having history from a maternal or paternal side, then this testing has to be done. If at all patient is elderly, primary or elderly age is there, then in this tests are done. This is basically done for the selection of the sex also. If at all someone wants male baby, then this test is very important for such patients. Ultrasonography, this is for the diagnosis also, and this is for the again we can see for the anomaly scan at 20 weeks. This is generally done. Fetal echocardiography. This is done when generally whenever the mother is suffering from a medical or surgical illnesses, like if at all any cardiac abnormality is there, there diabetes is there, or any pathological disorder that affects the fetus and specifically heart. So fetal echocardiography has been done. Risk factors for the prenatal screening. Risk factors for the prenatal screening. So basically, maternal risk factors are maternal age. Whenever the age is more than 35 years, then the it is a high risk pregnancy. So we have to do so many tests, and antenatal assessment is very important. Family history of neural tube defects, prevents baby with neural tube defects, various chromosomal abnormalities, carriers of X-linked autosomal traits, parents with balanced translocation, recurrent history of miscarriages. All this, whenever present, then we have to do the genetical screening. All these tests vaccine we have to do whenever the case is such bad obstetric history or any fetus or maternal history. Fetus is with neural tube defect, maternal history of very genetic disorder, then we have to do this investigation, and screening is very important. Prenatal risk factors like oligohydramnios cases, polyhydramnios. Again, symmetrical fetal growth is not there. Abdominal finding, ultrasound finding, whenever abnormal, whenever the ultrasound findings are abnormal, means any structural abnormality is there in the fetus, then such investigations are important. Uncontrolled diabetes to the mother during conception, during pregnancy. Again, various infections like torch infections, cytomegalovirus, toxoplasmosis, rubella, herpes, hepatitis B. Hepatitis B, basically rubella and cytomegalovirus. These two are teratogenic, and it is very important in such cases to do the investigation and to rule out the risk factor. Presence of soft tissue markers of chromosomal anomalies on ultrasonography. Again, abnormal maternal serum screening is done so that there could not be, if at all any problem is there for genetical disorder, then it is important for the patient point of view also to do the abortion of the pregnancy. Biochemical analytes. So biochemical analytes in this, we can see this important maternal serum alpha fetoprotein. Serum alpha fetoprotein. This is an important entity. MSAFP. The highest level of this alpha fetoprotein in fetal serum and amniotic fluid is in between 13 weeks. Basically, after the end of the first trimester, it will start increasing and it will end just at the after the end of the this second trimester, and after that 1 month means almost at the start of third trimester it will reach its up to its peak. So maternal serum level, it will reach to its peak at 32 weeks. So whenever it is elevated, then what is the significance? Whenever it is elevated, then wrong gestational age might be there. Neural tube defects might be present. These maternal serum alpha-fetoproteins are raised in babies with neural tube defect. If the fetal pregnancy is there and the fetus is with open neural tube defect, then it will be raised. Multiple pregnancies, RSH immunization, intrauterine fetal death, anterior abdominal wall defects, renal anomalies. In all these cases, these alpha fetoproteins are elevated. Low levels of these alpha fetoproteins are seen in Down syndrome and gestational trophoblastic disease. So it is an important biochemical test for the assessment of fetal well-being. So next one is inhibin. All these are the inhibin A. So all these are the biomarkers, and we had already seen. Basically, this is an hormone. This is an hormone we generally see. So it is basically secreted through ovaries. And next one is HCG, PAPP, and others. So HCG during pregnancy, human chorionic gonadotropin. This hormone generally we assess for the well-being of the fetus, and any abnormalities during pregnancy we can diagnose. Like in ectopic pregnancy, it is decreased whenever the fetal cardiac movement is not seen. Then it is decreased basically. So again, one of the important is non-stress test. Non-stress test is basically it is a continuous electronic monitoring of the fetal heart rate. So the fetal heart rate is monitored along with the recording of fetal movements. Fetal movements also recorded, and along with that continuous electronic monitoring of the fetal heart rate. So we have to assess by this investigation whether there is any change in the fetal heart rate whenever the fetal movements are accelerated, whenever the fetal movements are raised, and whenever the if at all fetal heart rate is increased as per the fetal movements are increased, then it is normal and that indicates the fetus is healthy. So this is a very important test to find out the condition of the fetus inside the uterus. So basically, it is done whenever the full term is then pregnancy extends or any condition that will cause fetal distress. In such conditions, NST is done. So this is about the topic, the antenatal assessment of fetal well-being. Hope you have understood the topic, and if at all you are having any queries, please mention in the comment box. I'll try to solve it. Thank you. Thank you very much.